Greetings. Welcome to Dr. Neil's Spiritual Awakening to Non-Duality. This is Dr. Connie Zweig, and I'll be interviewing my husband who lives in spiritual awakening. You may have heard about this or read about it, but you may not know someone who lives it day to day. We'll be exploring how non-duality developed in Dr. Neil as I've observed it over 25 years, and as he directly experiences it every day. Each podcast will explore a different theme. We look forward to you joining us. Greetings. Welcome to the podcast. Today we're going to talk about enlightened perception. What happens as our consciousness evolves to our senses? How do we perceive things differently? Does perception change as we awaken? Okay, Dr. Neil.
So I get feedback from people who say, how can you know these things? How can you say you see these things? That's because with awakening, there are different levels of awakening. The senses grow. Different senses become available. So, for example, if I'm looking at a tree right now, I notice that I'm in this body and I'm in the tree. And I notice all the devas and the angels and the beings that are manifesting the tree, just like there are a host of beings manifesting this body. So that's visible to me. And that's because the tree and I are not separate. There's a oneness in myself and the tree. We have the same root. So perception in a fundamental way is built on this sense of unity and a separateness from the unity, the ability to be separate and observe it.
So you're in union and separate at the same time.
Correct. And that's the only way that perception works, because otherwise you're just one. You're just a unified being.
Yeah, I always wondered, it's like a blob. Everything becomes a blob. How do you make boundaries?
Right. Where should I begin?
Well, how did your perception evolve personally for you? How did this unfold?
Well, I'd like to go back to Dr. Newt, the man who used to do readings with a pendulum and would look into my soul and tell me things that were about my soul, about my body. And so I became aware that there are different levels of perception that are possible with focus. And so I began to do the same thing, which is use a pendulum and ask questions. And I got answers, yes, no, maybe, or various things. And that opened me up to the possibility of visually looking at things and seeing things.
So it started visually. It started with what you call knowing.
Yes. Knowing is an enlightened state. It's a state of non-duality. There's no subject or object in knowing, and there's no process. It's just a state of the divine. Divine knows everything, is everything. So knowing manifests through the divine as the knower. The knower separates itself from the objects of knowing and is able to perceive them in different ways.
And then what happened with your other senses?
The visual one is the primary one, but auditory also woke up, and sensational feeling woke up as well. So these senses woke up to themselves, and
for the visual sense, you're looking first at the subject-object in duality.
Correct.
You're looking at me, or at the bed behind us, or at the screen in front of us.
Right.
And then what happened?
Well, let me describe my present experience. It'll be a little bit easier to relate this. So I'm subject to object. I'm looking at a wall here. There's the sense of self, and there's the wall as an object. And then I'm one with the wall. And I'm not separate from the wall. And I'm looking through the wall. I'm seeing the studs and the internal mechanisms in the wall. And that's a subtle vision. And now I'm looking through the wall to what's outside of the wall. And so I'm seeing boats because I'm living in a harbor. So I'm seeing boats here, and I'm seeing people in boats not with the physical eyes, but with the astral eyes.
Yeah, talk about the astral eyes.
So the astral body, which is the subtle body, has eyes and ears and feelings as well as the physical. So, for example, a friend of mine, Barbara, died about a year ago, and she's living on the mental plane, one of the astral planes. And we can talk to each other because there's a common feeling, thought capacity to communicate. And I can see her on the astral plane and the mental plane.
Okay, but we're confusing those two planes. So there's astral eyes.
Astral eyes, seeing the boats outside. And if I expand my awareness to the mental body, so I'm seeing the whole city in Los Angeles here, and it's one unified city. And if I expand it to the heart chakra or the heart level, it's not the actual chakra, but it's the level of the body. So I can see the world, the planet, both from the center of the planet and looking at the planets. And I can see these enlightened beings who are sending love and well-being to the planet, and from the outside as well as from the core.
So if you go to the astral body, you have astral eyes. And are there other senses with the astral body?
Yes, all five senses exist. So, for example, if I go to see my mother who passed away about a year ago, is it about a year ago?
Mm-hmm.
So we can talk to each other. So I see her visually. I can hear her. I can communicate through thoughts and feelings. We can have a conversation. And that's because I'm one with the astral field. So I'm not separate from the astral field.
So I think the union, or what the oneness, the unity, is often thought of as just on the level of consciousness, which is kind of abstract. But what you're describing is it's actually part of the material body and all of the subtle bodies.
Yeah, so my physical body is here in this room. My physical body is the size of this room. My physical body is huge, much bigger than this room. My physical body, in fact, is everywhere. It's unbounded. And I'm one with everything on the physical plane. So that's the sense and the experience. The physical body contains the entire cosmos. It's all inside of me.
So we did a podcast about that. And then your astral body emptied out.
Yeah, and then, I found at one point that the physical body was full of everything. And then it emptied out. It became transparent, became empty. And I left the physical body and went to the astral plane and was visiting different people and places on the astral plane. And eventually I got to realize that I am one with the astral plane as well as the physical plane.
Yeah, so the visiting, it was no longer an accurate description. You weren't traveling from here to there.
Right.
It was all in you.
It's all in me. And the same thing for the mental plane, the Buddhic plane, which is the heart plane, the Atmic plane, which is the throat plane, and the celestial planes, which are, the ajna, this awareness.
So what can you see or taste or smell or feel with the mental body?
Well, the mental body works on thoughts. So when someone is operating in the mental body, it is either conscious of it or out of the physical body. Out of the mental body is creating thought forms, kind of like the little clouds that you see in the comic strips above. There's a thought in a form. So so the mental body is creating all kinds of thought forms that communicate with somebody who could pick up those thought forms.
And is that you? Can you pick them up?
Yes.
So what sense are you using in your mental body?
It's an interesting thing because it's visual, it's auditory, because it translates into the words that are expressed, and it's tactile, it's feeling. So, so those are the three primary senses that are awake. My sense of taste is not fully awake, and the sense of smell is not fully awake yet. But those other senses are all awake.
And so if your sensory system in the mental body is communicating with Barbara, who's not on the physical plane, she's on the mental plane.
She is.
What's the sensory experience like of that?
Well, energetically, I feel her presence. So there's a feeling level, just like there's a feeling level, sensation in the physical body. There's a feeling level of Barbara. In fact, now that we're talking about her, she's here with us. So, and she's inside of my consciousness, not separate from my consciousness. And she's saying that she loves me, and I love her too.
Okay.
And that when I say she's saying it, she's thinking it, but it's translated into vocalization.
Okay. So if it's the same nature or consciousness of everything that's in your body and you're not separate from it, is that also true in all the subtle bodies? So is everything in the astral plane, in your astral body, in the astral plane, the mental plane?
Yeah, I used to see this as I am one with everything in the physical plane, and that was everything. So that awareness of being one with everything felt like everything, felt like, there was nothing outside of me. Everything was one with me, was inside of me. Well, actually, not either inside or outside, but was me.
Has that changed?
Yeah, I became aware that there are other planes besides the physical one. There's the astral plane, the mental plane, the Buddhic plane, the Atmic plane, and the celestial, where the gurus and the enlightened beings and the gods and the devas live. And it's possible to actually be talking to them on that plane. So it's quite important to actually perceive them inside of oneself or as part of oneself and communicate with them.
And so how do you experience that? So I know you have a couple of teachers on the celestial plane.
Yeah, like I say, Swamiji is one of my teachers. I wouldn't say gurus, I'd say teachers because I don't really have gurus. We're in conversation quite often. So we talk to each other.
So your celestial body is connected with him. He's on he's dead. His consciousness is on the celestial plane.
Correct.
And what's the sensory experience of that communication?
Well, the communication is verbal, so it's listening. The communication is visual, so it has a form that's emotional. The communication is content, his content. I could see his enlightenment, like he's connected with other great beings. I'm visible. He's, he's visible to me.
Does he look like he did when he was alive?
Well, he's had many lifetimes and been reincarnated many times. And so what I'm experiencing is what I'd call the soul, not necessarily the physical form or the form that I knew him with the last time.
So how do you recognize him if it's not a visual likeness?
Recognition happens on different levels. So on an astral level, there's a feeling, so a sensation. So every person gives off an aura. So your aura is my field right now. I'm feeling your aura. So the same thing applies with people who passed on. So they have an aura, they have an energy field, and one can connect with it as long as one is able to emulate it and is able to focus on it.
So are there other masters you connect with on the celestial plane through your celestial senses?
Yes, there's one on another planet in another galaxy. So, in other words, when you get beyond time space, there is no separation. So there's one that has been with me through 7 lifetimes, and he's been guiding my consciousness and helping me unfold.
And so what's the sensory experience of connecting with him?
Well, it's symbolic right now because on his planet, he is the leader. So the political and the spiritual are combined. They're not separate. It's kind of like what was happening in Tibet with the government and the spiritual head with the Dalai Lama. So he's the head of the planet, and it's a male. Yeah, he's a male.
Is he human?
No, he's not a human being in the same form as us. But there are many beings in many different dimensions. So, and he's able to communicate with me, although he generally refers me to other people for things. He's a very enlightened and very aware being.
Okay, so we've kind of gone up the planes, physical, emotional, mental, heart, planet, universe. And it seems like what happened for you is that each one kind of emptied out. You experienced emptiness, physical emptiness, mental emptiness, astral emptiness. And then something kind of turned and came back into your body with the oneness on these different planes. First it was going out, and then there was this turn. A friend of ours called it the 180, and consciousness started to come back in.
Right. So the first wave looks like this. The first wave inwards. I'm with my body. I'm aware of the physical body. I'm aware of the empty mind. I'm aware that the ego is dissolving or dissolved, and that this mouth is speaking without any volition on my part. The words are coming out without any kind of thought behind them. And then I'm kind of conscious there of the emptiness, that there's an emptiness beyond the ego. I call it the first emptiness. And that emptiness expands its awareness or expands awareness to looking at the galaxy, which I seem to have spent some time doing and seems to be a part of my awareness. And the galaxy is me, and I am also observing it at the same time. So it has a sound to it, a rumbling sound, and it has a visual aspect to it, and it has a astral aspect to it, and energetic, and it has a feeling. It's a feeling of love to it. So, and behind the galaxy is myself, or behind this oneness with the galaxy is the sense of self that is empty, that is beyond time and space. So when one gets to a place of being beyond time and space, there's nothing there. It's empty. So it's the source of all, but it's also empty, which is paradoxical, but that's its nature. And
it's empty potential, empty fullness, empty void.
Yeah, it has all those
vacuum state,
all those qualities. And its great gift is the fact that if one is one with that aspect of the divine, then anything in the cosmos is available to one's perceptions, because one can actually go into time and or space, to a point in time or space, and be there without limit. So I can be in another galaxy, on another planet, with a being who's super conscious, because there's the capacity to move from not emptiness, from no time, no space, to a point in time and space.
So before we close, I want to make a distinction with siddhis or yogic powers, because some people will be hearing this and thinking that you have yogic siddhis. And it sounds to me like what you're saying is that this is all possible because everything is consciousness or emptiness or Brahman or whatever we call it. And that because you are in all of your bodies identified with that, everything is available to your perception. But for someone who has a different Kundalini process, let's say, opens the 6th or 7th chakra, but doesn't actually have that grounding, they could have some of these experiences in an isolated way, right? It would be a different kind of evolution of perception.
I'm not sure what your question is.
Well, I think there's a risk of people hearing this podcast as, oh, he has siddhis.
Oh, okay. So what's the difference between someone who has superpowers, which the teachers warn us against focusing on, and somebody who is awake and has superpowers or super abilities? The difference is, are you one with the object of perception? Do you get to a point where you're one with them, either because you're observing something first as duality, and then you go to monism or oneness, or because you're in oneness and then you actually separate yourself and you have the sense of duality? So, siddhis from that level are actually very positive, because they actually help you to be more conscious and more aware of the fact that the universe is one being, one, in fact, one of 50, 80, and one of 53 beings, our universe. And you are one with that being. You are an aspect of that being. You are a manifestation of that being. So that's the difference between siddhis that are separate and that take you away from that connection, and siddhis that are an expression of that, or on the other hand, can lead you to that.
Okay, and do you have any sense of where your extra sensory experience is going from here?
Seems to continue to unfold all the time. So first wave was inwards to Brahman and emptiness and the divine. And the second wave was back into the physical body, where everything was in my physical body. And then the next wave was that I am one, on not just on the physical plane, but the astral, mental, the Buddhic, the Atmic, these planes. I'm one with the plane, which is divine creation. So we'll see. Maybe I'll get to a place where it'll turn around again and there'll be another wave of some other manifestation. I don't believe there's any end to consciousness or development of consciousness or perception. Perception is it's really just about being able to separate yourself from the oneness that and experience something that's there on whatever level it is.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks for tuning in today. If you found our discussion insightful, there's a good chance your friends will too. And we'd love it if you could take a moment to share this episode with a friend who you believe would appreciate it. Help us spread the word and reach more people. And follow us on any platform. Turn on your episode notifications so you never miss new content. Thanks for being part of our podcasting journey.